Welcome to the School Garden Podcast with Mary Jo and Anne. No matter where you are in your school garden journey, whether you are an experienced garden teacher, a novice parent helper, or a struggling home educator, we are here to help you and your kiddos in your garden space. Come and dig in with us because school gardens matter.
Welcome to the School Garden Podcast, a podcast by school garden educators for school garden educators. And we're excited about today's episode, How to Be a Watering Winner.
So go on, how was your week?
We had the best week, didn't we, Mary Jo? We're recording this in March. So the last weekend in March, we worked with 45 different teachers in a professional development session.
Yeah.
And we had 23 different campuses, 13 different districts.
Amazing.
And some of the best gardening friends we've ever made.
Oh my gosh.
Come together for a good 3-hour workshop. It was lovely.
It was just magical. It was just really, really nice. And my 18-year-old was with us helping. And even she went, that was really just so positive. That was
She would say it was fun.
No, because I would have not believed her. I'd have been like, really? But I think she was just really quite taken aback by how everybody was just into it. And we were talking about such nerdy garden stuff for 3 hours. It was so great, wasn't it? So guys, if you were with us on March the 29th, thank you so much for coming. And thank you so much for making it magical, because you just made me feel so happy that the work's been done, isn't it? That people are out there doing exactly what we do, and that you're out there doing the school garden work and getting those kids in the garden.
For me, I think, as with this podcast, what we love doing is supporting educators wherever they're working, whether it's through this podcast or in person. And so to be able to blend those two together was just lovely. So we enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
So, and if you did come to the event and wanted to leave a comment about it, please do so.
Oh, yes, you should. You should absolutely say, yes, we were there and whatever. Seriously, thank you for the bottom of mine and Anne's heart for coming. It was a great time.
How to be a watering winner.
We get so many questions about water, and there is a good reason. We all know watering is that key variable that we can control in our garden that makes it successful or not.
Yeah.
But it's really nebulous.
Yep.
How much to water, how much to water in your garden may be different than mine, and we're in the same city. So it's a really complicated topic. So our goal today is to rain down great watering advice to you.
Nice.
I know.
Rain down.
I know, pun.
I like that. Thank you.
It's a pun. Let's see how many puns we can do in this episode.
So watering really is the key issue in a school garden. It's something that probably will, at some point in your school garden journey, be an issue. And I'm so sorry to say that, but I think the sooner you make peace with that, the better. Okay?
Exactly.
Maybe you'd even have any, and we would really recommend, before you even start doing anything in your school garden, that you give water the greatest thought and really go about trying to get that water access, because really it is the thing. And it's a thing that gets old really quick, isn't it? Because if you're in a hot place like we are, a place where watering is key to actually success, and you're dragging that hose, or you're bringing cans from the inside outside, or you're asking and relying on way too many people, it's the thing that could really be the end of your school garden.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I think that it does pay dividends. You becoming incredibly good friends with your district, or whomever your operations people are, the people who take care of that kind of utility on your campus, because those people are the key to getting it for you, or repairing it, or helping you out. And we know that over these years of doing this, that really the best friends out there are those that can help us when we have issues. Do you think?
Right. Thank you, Joe Flores, Fort Worth ISD, for all your amazing work and all your amazing friends.
And David Guetta too. Exactly.
Yes.
He's definitely flicked a few switches for us and turned a few.
Has.
Oh gosh, well, we could do a clever pun there, couldn't we, about turning the water on or something like that. So grateful for them, because at some point, there will be a telephone call between you. So just prepare yourself, or your administration, just know what that process is, know how to raise those work orders, or get those people involved with you in timely, because the longer you don't have water, the more trying it's going to be for you, the success of your school garden. So, and also just kind of align yourself with the policies around what you're allowed and what you're not allowed to have in the garden too. And that will come from operations and possibly your administration level as well.
So, Mary Jo, why don't we start by talking about when to water?
Yeah, I mean, simple as, isn't it? When should we water? And it might seem like a really obvious thing to be able to answer, but it really isn't. Like you said, that word nebulous, around about watering. The majority of questions are always about watering. Should I water? I think, firstly, if you're thinking, should I water? The answer is always yes. Go ahead and water, because in a climate like we have, is that you just generally cannot overwater. You really can't. You might, if we were doing in-ground in these very heavy clay soils, then that might get waterlogged. But if you're in raised beds or anything like that, the likelihood of you overwatering is near on impossible.
Right.
As well. So really, we talk about using our fingers the whole time in the gardens, don't we? As being the best system. And something that you can get your kids to do for you as well is the finger test. You're going to poke your finger into the ground, into that soil. If it feels wet, it feels damp, then that's okay. And if it's dry, then water, quick test for it. Sometimes you might not even have to do that. You've had a big, long stretch of dry weather and you just know that you've got to water. But the finger test is brilliant, and getting your kids used to that as well, because that's going to be their lifelong practice as well for them. I find that the wind dries things out much more than, say, the sun sometimes. So if you've got very, very windy days which are overcast, that soil will be bone dry. Just always stick your finger into the soil and see how it feels, and that's a great indicator. And you, Anne, have a fabulous little tool that you like.
I do. For our science standards in Texas, there's a whole section on having kids getting used to working with tools.
Yeah.
And so one of my favorite tools is a moisture sensor. They're like $5 a piece. They're very low tech, but they show you as you press a metal rod into the ground whether the soil's dry, moist, or wet.
I know.
And my kids love working with those tools and learning and using their finger as well. They can see the connection between those two. So I'm a big fan of those.
Definitely.
And I use them at home all the time.
I just think giving a kid a tool, it makes them feel like a scientist.
Exactly, it does, because they are.
They are. And they feel incredibly important, don't they, when they're carrying that tool around. I quite often do this thing when we've planted something up and it's been watered down and it's optimum. I get everybody to put their finger in the soil and I make everybody close their eyes because I love a bit of drama. And I put everything and I go, everybody, take a mental picture of how this feels. Sensation on your finger. Remember this. And they all feel the sense of the occasion and the drama.
I like
do it.
that.
And I think that's really nice. But the answer is, if in doubt, water. I think we are just so reliant on our phones these days. There's nothing that replaces going out there and having a look for yourself, poking your finger in the ground and doing that. We like to use rain gauges, don't we? So I think rain gauges are a really good indicator. We're talking about those tools in the garden, those measurements, getting those kids involved in being the scientist. But word of warning, everybody, is that, you're going to have to put a number of rain gauges around your garden, because under a tree is not going to get nearly as much rain as, say, in an open raised bed. So just be very mindful of that. Okay, you go and go, great, fantastic, it's filled up to 2.5 inches. Somewhere else in your garden that's possibly sheltered by a wall, that's not going to have nearly as much moisture soak in that soil.
At the beginning of this year, I did an activity where we placed rain gauges around, and they had a chart that they had to fill out.
Yeah.
And then they had to discuss, why would this be different than this? And that was a great activity, and they were so engaged. And again, they're using tools, and these are tools they're going to use the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. And how did it go? Did they quickly work it out that it was because of situation and walls and shelter?
As a group, they did.
Yeah, so you've got like one person that comes up with it, and then it kind of sparks everybody else. But yeah, so rain gauges, cheap as chips, aren't they, as well, to go out and get some. A lot of organisations like to give them away, so keep your eyes open for those. But do make sure that you are, for a long spell of hots or something like that, you are emptying them. You don't want stagnant and standing water around in rain gauges. A lot of soil can get in there and things. So give them a swish out and tip them out every now and then. Another way to go about it is this, who's going to water? You know, is it always going to fall on you as the teacher? Because like we said before, that can get very old. I think that's the bane of my life. I really do.
It's so annoying.
It's really tiring, isn't it? Especially a 200-foot hose and you're like, oh my gosh, as well. So think about who is going to do that watering and who you can incorporate into that watering schedule that can really share out that burden. So things like we talked about sign up geniuses before. And
that works well for me.
It does. And you've put it out there to families. Some schools that I go to, they have a house group. And one week it's one house group, the next week it's that house group, and they share it out like that. Grade groups have it that it's used as a prize in the school.
Oh, that's nice.
As I say, if it's your birthday week, then you become in charge of the hose, because come on, we all know kids and the hose for sure. So lots of different strategies about sharing the burden for watering, because it's a lot.
Exactly.
Anne and I, it's so sad. If you have ever, you listen to us for starters, so you know what we're like. But quite often we'll text each other when it's raining.
Is it raining at your house? You live about 4 miles
apart. Is it raining at your house? No, is it raining? Isn't it glorious? We really are like a little bit obsessed with the rain, because the rain is always better for our plants, isn't it? Rain is the king, really. Rain's what we want, So, and you're going to tell us a little bit about why rain is better than using kind of a regular mains or a hose pipe.
Great. So I bet this is a common experience that we all have. We notice how gorgeous our gardens look after a good rain, right? In some cases, I think it looks gorgeous because I don't have to water for a few days. But there's some really great science behind rainwater and why it's better than tap water and why we see so much growth after a rain. First, rainwater is pure. It's distilled water. It's distilled by the sun. As it evaporates from our planet, it goes into the sky, and it leaves behind salts, chemicals, and other problematic aspects to the water. So when it's in the clouds, it's pure water. It's slightly acidic, and its pH matches what plants and soil life need and what they want. On its way back to Earth, it picks up some nitrogen in the form of nitrate. And that form of nitrogen can be used by the plants and the soil microorganisms right away. So it's a flush of really natural fertilizer.
It's a beautiful boost, isn't it?
It is.
Fantastic boost of natural fertilizer, which is just the holy grail.
It is. Now, in contrast, our tap water, which is what we have to use, and we do use it a lot, it has additional chemicals added to it. Chlorine, something called chloramine, which is a mixture of chlorine and ammonia, and fluoride. And these can slow plant growth just a bit, and it can affect the microorganisms in the soil as well. Now, in the past, I've always heard if you use tap water, put in a rain barrel or a bucket for a few days, and the chlorine will gas off. And that's really true. But in our city, they don't use chlorine, they use chloramine. And that takes quite a few more days to evaporate, and it doesn't evaporate fully. So I was so excited to think, oh, I have a solution. But it's not the solution I was looking for. So anytime it rains, I wait as long as possible before I water, because I want my plants to get the benefit of all that rainwater.
Yeah, rain rules, everybody. Rain rules. And friends in England, they're like, yeah, great. We have plenty of.
I know. I can't imagine living in that place.
It's the land of the green for a reason,
Yes.
It really is. So, guys, if you can't get it out the sky, which is the majority, and the weather's getting weird, it's only going to get weirder as we as the years go by. So, really, you're going to have to think of some different methods of watering in your garden space. So, you might be fancy and you might have a drip irrigation system or a kind of automated watering system that you put on a timer and it automatically does it.
That's like a little bit of heaven for all the rest of us. But yes, wouldn't it be lovely?
Wouldn't it be lovely? But the majority of schools that we go out to do not have an automated watering system at all. Quite a lot of them will have a period of time where they have no access to any kind of water. So we're talking, if you have this, then that's absolutely fantastic. But those come with their own issues. It's a massive exercise in maintenance. Joey who works with us is like, they're great, but it's just it's kind of like you start at one end and then you start at the other, just fixing it. And school gardens are always prone to lots of children using it, and the more feet, the more hands, the more standing on it, leading to breakage as well, and also to vandalism and just the things that happen after hours in your school. So they're absolutely fantastic, but it does come with a price and a maintenance sticker. You also do need to make sure that your district are happy with you having that kind of system too. So the majority of us, the most common way that we water is hand watering. By that we mean kind of with a hose or by watering cans, something that comes from the tap. So the other thing we need to talk about are rain barrels and rain collection systems, because we've just gone on about how fabulous rain is. So you may have a shed on your campus, you might be close to a wall, close to guttering, and you can easily put one of those into your garden campus next to your school garden, which is absolutely great, because one rain event here in Texas will fill up a whole rain barrel. Then that's a real savior to have in your space. You do need to check with the district if you are indeed allowed to have them. But if you do have one, you're going to put it on bricks so you can easily get a watering can underneath it. You're going to fix it nicely to a guttering system, and then just make sure you screen it over the top of the rain barrel. If you buy one that's already made as a rain barrel, it comes with everything, you know what I mean? But some people do like to repurpose, say, an old barrel or an old container. But so if you're repurposing something, just spend a bit of time, maybe watch a YouTube video or something about just making it properly. But if you buy a kit, then you've got everything there, and just elevate it up on some bricks so you can access the water easily. Now, sounds great, doesn't it? Rain barrels. Why wouldn't we just put rain barrels everywhere in the garden? Why wouldn't we just use that the whole time? Well, a couple of drawbacks about it, okay? One is that you are introducing an open water source on a school garden, and that's around children, and you need to be mindful of that. The other thing about it is not only does a rain barrel collect rainwater, but it's also collecting other bits and pieces from nature too, things like squirrel poop and bird poop and other bacteria that are blowing in. Things on the back of leaves can easily turn the water that's in the rain barrel into something that's not very good, particularly if you've got a kid that decides to go and get a drink of water or something like that. I've never seen that done, but you just never know. So just be very mindful that there are some drawbacks to it. If you do put a rain barrel on your campus next to your garden, then you have to maintain it. You've just got to monitor it and use the rainwater regularly in it as well. They do say cleaning it out twice a year because of that buildup of bacteria and nasty things that can get in as well. They're a great addition to your school garden, but if you have one, just be mindful. There are a few drawbacks and a few considerations for them.
And one consideration that I think of if I use mine is I never water any plants my kids are going to eat from the rain barrel, unless they're at the very beginning of their life cycle. Other than that, I really keep that water away from edible plants just for that safety.
I don't have kids wash their hands under it, but once you really do explain it to children and you make it a part of your safety protocols on your garden, I don't have any problems at all.
Right.
Yeah, but we really do keep a mindful eye about it. So, and then there's another product that we have to talk about when we talk about watering, and it's something that I've been using over the past couple of years, and we've just started to introduce them to some of our school campuses. And I know that you've been using them. Yeah, I remember I gave this to Anne as a Christmas present a couple of years ago, and it was quite exciting. And these are Olla Pots.
So spell that for everybody.
Okay, it's Olla, so Olla. And sometimes you can find it spelled by Oya, Olla Pot. And an Olla Pot is Roman technology. It's like 4,000 years old.
At its best.
At its best, exactly. I'll just go back to Roman technology. It's a semi-porous terracotta watering pot. And it's something that you bury in the soil in your garden beds or where you are planting. So the Olla Pots that we've been using, they have got this long kind of neck, and then it goes down almost into a bulb shape, into a round bottom shape, and it has like a lid on the top. And the idea is that you bury it with only, say, an inch of the neck poking out of the top. And as you fill this Olla pot with water, it slowly leaches out into the soil. And it doesn't saturate it, doesn't kind of whoosh out, anything like that. Slowly it will leach out, kind of watering the soil around it. But the added fabulousness of it is that the plant roots grow towards the pot and will actually eventually attach themselves around the pot. And it's fabulous at the end of the season when you've finished it, you know, you're pulling out those plants, say pepper plants or tomato plants, and they did really well with the black-eyed peas actually, is that you take it out. You can then take the Olla pot out and show that to the children. And last summer when we took out ones that had been around black-eyed peas, there was a great big thick mat of these root, you know, just
That's
these
powerful for kids to see, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely great. And you just sink them into your raised beds or into your planting beds, and they will slowly water out and plant roots will grow towards the Olla pot. Not that great for root crops, things like carrots, kind of radishes, that, because, you know, they don't have that fibrous root system. They're actually some tap root that you're eating as well. But those fibrous root balls, that's ideal for these Olla pots. So we have a great relationship with a company called the Olla Company, OLLA company.com. And that's a company that's based over in California. And they're just fantastic supporters of our school gardening programming over here in Fort Worth. So we've put their details in the show notes. So please go visit their website. There's lots of videos about how you can use them. They talk about the technology of it. They talk about the ancient practice of it too. So go and have a look and think about putting a few of those into your garden program. They're really effective, and also what a great educational tool as well.
So with all of these different methods of watering, we need to talk about how long to water.
Yeah.
I was a gardener for years that thought it was great to water every other day or every day in the summer. And I've learned from Mary Jo that that is not the case. And rather than frequent, shallow watering, you really want to go for infrequent, deep watering.
Yeah, I'm shaking my head, listeners.
I
shaking my
know.
head. And it's a really hard lesson to kind of teach people. You do not want to be shallow watering frequently. So people who pop out, twice a day and put a little sprinkle on the top, that is not what you want to be doing. What happens with that is that your plant will create these very short roots at the top of the surface, and then that just is taking up that water, and it's not leaving the water to go down to the roots, the proper root ball at the bottom that truly needs it to take it up that main stem. So really we say infrequently but super deep. You know, so for us in Texas, that might only be twice a week sometimes, maybe once, maybe only 3 times during the summer. Super deep. And you kind of can't believe it. You're standing there for ages, and which is why you want to spread around the watering help as well, because you've really got to let that soak right the way through it. And again, this is where your finger or something like a bamboo cane is really helpful. Just you can poke it down there and make sure that it's got right down there to the root ball. So don't do the dance of the watering fairy.
Oh, I love that.
Finished, you know, where really you are standing there and you are doing it and you're thinking you're going to drown the whole thing, and that is much better. Watering very, very first thing in the morning is ideal if you can, before the sun comes up. If you can't do it then very much evening time when the sun's gone down, but try to avoid doing it midday. So like going along the lines of that, and we had a volunteer event on Wednesday, and we had a bunch of high schoolers that came to help us, you know, on the garden, and really, really nice. And I said to these girls, I was like, hey girls, do you mind? It was at the end of the session, and that's really when you want to start watering in the event or even school as well. Water at the end, you know. So, hey girls, do you mind just watering in it? I found no problem. We've got 9 or 10 beds in this garden space. So anyways, went to the shed, came back, the hose had been wound back up and finished, and I was like, what? Did you water? Yes. What, all of it? Just that one bed? No, all of it. We watered it. And then I kind of went over and I brushed my finger over the...
It's the most depressing thing she's ever done to me.
And I did this to Anne. I've done it to everybody. And I went over and I kind of like just put my finger, honestly, it was just within like half a centimetre or something, like millimetres. I pushed it and it was bone dry underneath, and they just literally sprinkled over the top of it. So deep and infrequent as opposed to frequently and
Dance of the Water
dance
Fairies.
of the water fairy.
So Mary Jo, why don't you share some hacks if you don't have a close water source to your gardens?
Yeah, it's a good idea to have a few strategies in place, isn't it? If your garden's closer to the building, then that is really helpful, because if you're going inside, filling up watering cans, coming out, that kind of thing, the closer you are to the building, the better. Also, for having your district putting in a water line for you, the closer to a building, sometimes that makes it easier for them to put something in for you as well. This is one thing that you definitely helped me as a strategy, was water bottles after recess. Kids go outside, most of them take a water bottle with them, you know, they play this, they have a quick drink, and then they all head back into the building. If they're walking past a garden, get them to water deeply and infrequently as well. So they're going to choose one plant and they're going to pour that, and that's really effective, isn't it?
It's worked really well, and the kids love doing it.
Yeah, I've seen all kinds of temporary measures. We, and you and I, have dragged a 400-foot hose around a building. Do you remember? We've done that, and we had some kind of strategies along the way about different stations to leave it and stop it and that kind of thing. A couple of schools might put a hose through a window very temporarily, just getting that water to the garden. And then the other ones is just thinking about just planting seasonally. If you know that you're really going to struggle with water that whole year, then maybe not plant during the summer where you really are going to struggle, and plant it during those times where you get much more rainfall, you know. So planting through the fall, which we tend to get much more rain during the winter, that kind of thing. And then try to avoid hotter times, or try to avoid plants that really love to guzzle water as well. Unfortunately, most vegetables like a lot of water, but like those shorter leafy vegetables that you're picking quite quickly, that kind of things, you don't need as much water. But those plants that are established for long months, then you're going to have to think about it. So plant accordingly.
So let's end by talking about strategies for watering with kids in a garden, because you do need some strategies.
You do, and you need to kind of take a deep breath, because nobody is going to thank the garden teacher for sending a whole bunch of kids back in with soaking feet.
And yet it always happens.
Always happens. No PE teacher in this fair land of yours, Anne, says thank you when you send a whole bunch of kids with wet and soggy feet back into a school gym.
Love that.
Nobody says thank you as we send them all back with soaking wet clothes at 8:30 in the morning. So seriously, establish some strategies as well. Know who your kids are going to be, the ones that have no problem pouring it over their head as well, that kind of thing. So yeah. So the first one is definitely the peril of the hose.
I don't know that I've ever given a kid a hose yet.
In a class.
I hold on to it.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm very controlling.
But for good reason. Exactly. I mean, if you want to start a big feud, pull out a hose and show it to 30 kids, all of who want to have it. You've got a strategy if it's your birthday that week, or if you've got star of the week. I don't know, there's all kinds of incentives to do that. You can, but even still kind of tricky, really. So we tend not to do that. So we tend to use 5-gallon buckets, don't we?
They're very effective.
Very effective, and really spaced out around the garden too, because lots of 5-gallon buckets together in the same place is like giving the hose. The pushing, the shoving, the me, the cups, all the rest of it. So space those 5-gallon buckets around. If they're different coloured, each kid only gets to visit that particular colour. So I've got green, white, red. You're in the white bucket, you're green, you're red. You know, and that just mitigates a whole pile of people piling as well. And then we put cups, don't we? Sometimes you have watering cans, don't you? You have mini, smaller watering cans.
With my garden clubs after school, I have watering cans that they share in groups of 3.
Okay.
And that's pretty effective.
Yes.
But I tend to do watering cups, like under 8 ounces.
Yes. And we always tell the kids to leave a good inch or so at the top as well. Don't fill it right up to the top. And then telling kids how to water properly with that cup. Okay, they are not going to let it trickle from the greatest height. We are not creating Niagara Falls in our garden. It's going low. pouring to the base of the plant and telling them and really going through the exercise and that technique of making them be precise about it.
Love it. One of my favorite techniques with young kids is to have them pretend their hand is a cloud.
Yes.
And to break up the water, instead of a huge gush of water hitting a plant, they pour it into their hand and they'll watch it drip out of the bottom in smaller drops. That protects the plants. It's a great sensory experience for them as well.
It is. Kind of seeing them where they move their hand around like this, like they are a moving cloud as well. For the older kids, I get them to turn their hand over and it becomes a watering claw.
Oh, nice. I haven't done that
older
yet.
ones, I can get like even 3rd and 4th grade into this by pretending they have a claw and pouring it over the back of their hand. Any technique we can get. Because watering is such an important part of gardening, isn't it, with kids? And it seems really wrong to not let them do it. But you've just got to be really mindful that it can go south super quick. So there we go. Oh, and don't water on picture day.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, don't go
into the garden on picture day.
Please use our tremendous error.
Traumatic experiences.
And keep well away from the garden and a hosepipe and any kind of water on picture day. Oh,
horrible.
I don't think I'll ever get over that. And Santana, your mum has been in touch.
What?
Your mum has been in touch.
Oh, I can only imagine.
And she has something to say.
Garden confession time.
So I need to come clean about something, and my mom's been asking me for the last few months about this. Apparently, in our launch episode, which may be the only one she's actually listening to, is the fact that I said I've loved gardening all my life. And a phone call does not pass that she goes, that is just not true.
Oh, really?
No, I guess when I was a child, according to my mother, I never watered and I'd complain about weeding and all that kind of thing. So I haven't loved it all my life.
Oh.
And I feel like she's very clear that she wants me to come clean on that. And maybe this will help her listen to another episode.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, just so she feels vindicated.
Exactly.
She needs to listen to this, okay?
So Nell, I'm sorry. And I just have loved it since I was an adult.
Okay. Are we feeling better about that? Okay. Everybody out there, Anne was not a child gardener. Okay.
Aren't there laws about that?
That's it. Okay. Nell, I hope you feel very vindicated now that the truth is out there. Well, that brings us to the end. Anne's confession. I think that ties it up very nicely, actually. So we hope you've taken away a few techniques here, a bit of an idea about watering, just getting your head around watering practices on your school garden campus. So we can't wait for you to join us again on the School Garden Podcast. See you next time.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to hit the follow button on your podcast platform of choice. And share us with a friend, please. We'd love for you to rate us and leave a comment as well. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Made Green, or visit us at our website, www.madegreen.com. Details of today's shows and other resources are in our show notes. Any proceeds from affiliate links shared help fund our school garden programs. We look forward to seeing you next time on the School Garden Podcast.